Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I am your host, Dave, and last night I sat down with our pal Mike Gordon, and we did a little Dragon Con recap. We talked about some highlights, basically just whatever came to mind in the conversation. Like, Mike would mention a thing, and I'd be like, here's a thing I have that relates to that thing. What about this? What about that? And we just kind of rambled for a while, which I'm not going to lie. I think it's pretty enjoyable when we do that, and I think you guys are going to dig it. Obviously, Dragon Con 2018 is in the bag, all done. Greatest Dragon Con ever. We discuss our feelings about it in the episode, so I'm not going to bother with that. But today is Thursday. I go back to work tomorrow night at 5 and work all weekend, which stinks because the new Spider-Man game for PS4 comes out tomorrow. And why didn't it come out Tuesday? Sony or Activision or whoever the crap is making the thing. Wouldn't that have been nice to have that to do for the last 3 days here? But it comes out tomorrow, which means my son's going to get home from school and play it a good portion of the weekend, and I'm going to be at work thinking about playing it, and I won't probably really get to mess with it until Monday when I get up. But that's okay, because I've had a nice, long stretch of time off. After Dragon Con, I've been able to get a lot of stuff done, which is great. The site, needlessthingspodcast.com, is changing. I'm doing some streamlining. I am moving to... I'm finally dumping Blogger. There's just too much mess. And what that means is I'm probably dumping the whole site. All of that stuff, I'm very proud of it. But at the same time, there's just so much there. So many broken links, so much terrible formatting because of the way Blogger works. Pictures because I didn't know what I was doing the whole time, and honestly, I'm not sure I can make the claim that even now I totally know what I'm doing. But just half the pictures are on PhotoBucket, half of them are on Google. Some stuff doesn't link, some stuff does. It's just too onerous a task to go and fix that 10 years of content. And looking at traffic, we get some hits every now and then, but I feel like it's important to focus on moving forward, keeping everything tight and clean and navigable. So I don't know that I'll ever mess with that content. Maybe I'll do some kind of archive thing. I don't know. But going forward, the site will still be needlessthingspodcast.com. It's not ready yet, so don't try going there today. But there will be a relaunch, and you will see a difference in how things are. For now, the podcast is still available on Podbean. If you go to Podbean and look for Needless Things, you will find it. As a matter of fact, this episode is going to be linked on Facebook and everywhere else through our Podbean host for the first time ever. So you'll be able to find you'll be able to find the podcast there. And it's, as you know, it's linked from there to needlessthingspodcast.com, the website, which has more content than just the podcast. And we're going to figure out exactly what that content is going to be over the course of the next couple of weeks. But I do plan to have Beth's first Dragon Con recap available this coming Tuesday, September the 11th, I believe it is. And then Wednesday, in theory, I should have my normal previews thing up. But like I said, in a different format and a different place that should be more appealing to you guys. But the site address will be the same. As long as everything goes smoothly, which, ha, I crack myself up. Okay, real quick, I want to mention a couple of things that Mike and I may not have didn't get to while we were talking, and that's 3 of the panels that I was on that were great successes, and I'm very proud of, that just didn't correlate to the conversation we were having. The 1988 panel was tremendous. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a very different set of panelists from who I normally have, and it was absolutely great. It is recorded. It will be up as a Needless Things podcast episode, possibly for next week's episode. I think that's going to be my plan right now, unless I go with the Ric Flair and Sting panel. I just, right before I recorded this introduction, I just finished checking the audio for all of my panels, and it's all good. Everything I recorded, no issues this year. Even the horror track, the Halloween panel for the horror track, the air conditioning noise was at a bare minimum. It's still present, but it's nothing like it used to be. The video games panel, the Video Game Character Hall of Fame, we had a blast doing that one. Everybody was on point. We brought some great stuff. The audience had fun. And I think you'll be surprised at the winner that was declared the greatest video game character of all time. Weird. And then finally, the G.I. Joe panel with Jim Beard, who was kind enough to bring me in for the Joy of Joe book, was really cool. We shared some great stories. I really liked all of those guys. I had a good time with them. It's the first time I've been on a panel with Michael French from Retro Blasting, and I like talking to that guy. I'm going to see if I can't get them on the show in the future, maybe for like a special holiday episode. I think that would be really cool. But all three of those panels were great. All the panels that I was part of were just delightful. I had such a good time all weekend long. It really was just absolutely wonderful. As my Dragon Con equity continues to grow, things just get more and more exciting every year. I love being there. The weekend was absolutely amazing all the way through. I was responsible the whole time, and learned that if I stick to whiskey, I'm A-OK. Which I don't know if that's really the best lesson to take away from Dragon Con, but okay, if I stick to whiskey and if I eat healthy and maintain my walking schedule for 6 weeks to 6 to 8 weeks, however long it was that I got back on track with it prior to Dragon Con, then everything is fine. And tomorrow I will be getting up before work and resuming my walks. Yes, I've been lazy. I've taken a few days off, but I got to tell you, I think I did enough walking over Dragon Con weekend to make up for taking like 3 days and just being a lazy shit. So there you go. You guys, I think it's just time. I think it's time to talk to our pal Mike Gordon and relive the wonderfulness that was Dragon Con 2018. I hope everyone had a great weekend, regardless of whether you were at Dragon Con or not. I hope you're heading into another wonderful weekend, and look ahead. Look ahead to the things you have to look forward to. I know post-con depression is very much a thing. I'm not feeling it right now, but it's because I'm already planning ahead to some stuff that's coming up in October, and that's what you got to do. Just keep your eyes towards the future, and always keep moving ahead, you guys, because there's great stuff coming. You just have to look forward to it and plan for it, and let it be always a forward-moving thing. Dragon Con's done. Now it's time to look forward to the next great thing. And if you don't have a next great thing, find one, make one, do it yourself. That's what I've had to do, and it's working for me. So here we go. Let's talk to Mike Gordon. 18 people who like the Dirty Con Game Show haven't heard from me in a while.
Okay.
I wonder why. That's what Facebook tells me. I guess I need to... I keep getting notifications from that
page. Oh, did you make a page for that?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for knowing that.
I'm sorry that I don't have everything that you're involved in cataloged in my system.
There's so much, I know.
Well, I figured, I mean, I guess I could see that because, I mean, I do, like, event pages, but not, like, its own page, but, yeah.
Well, because the intent had been to eventually travel.
Right.
And I think maybe with this new one, we might actually be able to achieve that.
So good. It was so fun.
I like hearing that.
You guys knocked it out of the fuck out of the park.
Whoa! Mike Gordon opening with an F-bomb. Well, now we have to consider this started. Because I want that in the episode.
I'll repeat it. I don't care who knows it.
We'll have some chit chat when we're done recording. I guess we're going to consider this a go.
Well, yeah, as much as I can go right now, because
dude, yeah.
When they say it's a marathon, not a sprint, man, it's brutal. It's more like it's not even a marathon. It's more like a tough man competition.
It's both. It's a marathon and a sprint.
Yeah, that's well put. Yeah,
because I mean, that's what. Whenever I posted the thing about being 42 and thank you for whatever, I was just aching. I guess it was Monday. I don't think it was yesterday. I think it was Monday night. Maybe it was yesterday. But I was just like it all caught up with me. And I have to, I feel better now than I did. I guess it was yesterday. But all day I was just getting up real slow, kind of creaking around.
Yeah.
Let me
tell you, this was my 25th in a row.
That's what I was going to ask, in a row.
Yeah, in a row. I went to my first one in 94, and I haven't, it's inconceivable to me not to go to one. It just...
Sure.
I know, I get it. There's reasons for not doing it. I understand them completely. But for me personally, it's my favorite thing to do all year round. But it is tough. It doesn't get any easier the 25th time. That's for sure. It gets, it doesn't get any easier, but it's still so worthwhile. Still so worthwhile. And I still wish I could do more. It's over so fast, and then, the door slams shut on you, and you go back to reality, and it's just a brutal awakening back into the real world.
So I actually got to see you a couple of times this year, which I was very happy about.
That was pretty amazing. Yes.
I was able to seek you out once, and then I saw you at the game show. Which, by the way, I thank you. I'm very, very happy that you and Bobby came out for that.
No, it was something that I felt bad that I had missed the other ones, the Dirty Con Game shows, because
you've got a reputation to uphold. You can't be seen at such things.
No, that's right. Sure, we'll go with that.
Your future political career could be in danger.
Wow. No, that was done years ago. But yeah, it just didn't work out. But this time I was like, well, what's stopping me? I just couldn't, there was nothing that I had. So I'm like, well, I will make it a priority then and then plan around it. And so I did, and got there a little early, and which is always unusual for Dragon Con to get someplace early.
Yeah.
I got to see you guys put some stuff together, which was cool. The excitement was building, and then seeing it, it's just amazing. Now, did you guys record it at all? Is there a way for people who weren't there to witness the glory and then get excited for the next one?
No, and I do wish I talked to a photographer that had done one of the older game shows, and kind of thought he was going to be there, and I guess it didn't work out, which it's Dragon Con, I understand.
It's perfect for Dragon Con TV, though.
We really didn't, since this was technically the first time we were doing this show, the format was different. We were handling things differently. So I don't think any of us felt like, well, this is the one we need to record. You know what I mean?
But
we should have in retrospect.
I was going to say, it just means that, well, you know the saying, always be recording, right?
Yeah.
So you do want to have a record of it at the very least. But, you know, it makes it that much more special that I was there to see it then. But, you know, from my own sake, as I'm getting older, the memory is getting more shot, so I probably won't remember it in a couple years. So, but that's nothing on you. It's just more like I would love to revisit it, you know, at some point, because it was a blast. And not that I had any concerns, but I was just interested in how the challenge of this same team, pretty roughly speaking, but the same team putting on something that was, you know, accessible and PG-13, and like I said, just perfect for Dragon Con TV. I can't believe that that's not something that they would want to include as part of the streaming service, because I think it would be great. I mean, for people who weren't there as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if next year that possibly happens. This year, I think there was very much a let's wait and see what this is.
Sure.
As opposed to, because, you know.
Probably for you, too. I don't know what this is going to be. Because you don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work.
And I'll toot our collective horns here and say, apparently it all worked.
I think it did. I don't think there was, I mean, that's pretty incredible, too. I mean, you had, 4 segments, really?
Yeah, 4 game segments.
4 game segments, and they were all winners. And they could have, because you're using, you know, you don't know who your cast of characters is going to be up there, they could have gone, any of them could have gone either way.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's timing, we had such a big cast and crew, but everybody's timing was on point. As far as the audience, you know, for the past 4, I think we did the Dirty Show 4 years, and all 4 years we had a line outside and they had to turn people away. And this year we didn't have that. Like 9:30 they let in disabilities, people with disabilities. 9:45 they opened the doors and everybody came in and the room wasn't full, which is the first time it's happened. So I was a little concerned, but by the time we started the show, the room was packed and there were people standing in the back. So that was great. But the big difference here, and once again having a packed house, is this time the whole house was into it. In the past, we've done that dance party bit. Like, that's one of our bits. But everybody got up. Even the back rows got up and were involved and, like, yelling and chanting along and doing everything. Like, we've never engaged an entire room that successfully. So I'm very proud, and I hope that next year, you know, leave us in the same ballroom next year. That's fine since we didn't, because this is the second year we've been in that ballroom.
Okay.
So next year, leave us in there again. That's fine. Let the line build up again. I think there will be word of mouth, the way there was with the Dirty Show, and we'll turn people away again, and then maybe the year after that will be somewhere even bigger where the house lights work. But we had a blast, and I'm very, very proud.
As well you should be. I mean, everybody, you know, put a fine effort, and it was, and I am not, you know, 25 years I've been going, and that is a con highlight for me, to be sure, not only this year, but throughout the the quarter century that I've been going.
Quarter century, holy cow.
I know. It's a big slap in the face to me, too. Well, so here's the thing that's mind-boggling about that. 25. I've been going to Dragon Con 25. Like, this is my 25th, right? So I've been going for 25 years.
Yeah.
I think we can make that assumption. And I'm turning 50 this year, so I've been going to Dragon Con half my life.
Wow, half of your life is Dragon Con.
Yeah, I've reached that. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Like I said, I love it. I love it. Are there bumps and bruises? Yes, there are. Boy, ooh, yes. Does everything go perfectly? Nope, not a chance. But So much good stuff. So much good stuff. And I was worried about this year. I really was. There was some things that made this year potentially a year that could go either way. And I'm glad to say that by Monday I was feeling the spirit.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned bumps and bruises, because there are a couple of things that I wanted to mention about my first couple of days down there. It's funny. Several mishaps occurred. I don't know if you saw my Facebook post about a series of ridiculous mishaps or not, but I had. The first thing that happened, I get down there, and I don't know if you know this or not. Did you spend a whole lot of time in the Hilton?
I did not. I spent a little bit of time there on Sunday. And of course, I was there Friday night because I had I was at Trader Vic's. So I was there a little bit, but not a lot.
Well, the Hilton that's where I stay. I've been staying there for 8 years, maybe.
Wow, and I thought you were a Sheraton guy.
No, I stayed at the Sheraton 1 year, and I swore I would never do it again because it's too. The Sheraton adds half an hour. It just does.
Yeah, you're right.
So no, I am a Hilton guy. I would love to be a Marriott guy purely to just be more central, because the Hilton is, of course, the furthest point away from the Westin, where I do some of my programming with the horror track. But I tend to be able to make my way around all right, and I really do love the Hilton. But I get down there, and they have added on or converted. I don't know what they've done, but there are apartments there now that are part of the Hilton. So they've blocked off portions of the parking garage that used to be available to the hotel that are for the apartments. So I get down there Thursday morning and go down my normal way into the parking garage, and the only level I can seem to get to is level 3, and it's full. Well, one of the parking attendants, as I'm leaving, and I said, are there less parking spots? How is there nowhere for me to park right now? I feel like there was more parking garage. And she said, "Are you here with Dragon Con?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh, we've got some spots for you." I said, "Okay, great." She said, "Back up. Follow me over here." So she turns me over to this it's a little lot with maybe 30 spaces. And I was a little dubious about it, but the attendant's putting me there. It's not like it was some rando on the street saying, "No, Dragon Con parks over there, buddy." Like, this was an official lady. So I pulled in, I parked. I went up and checked in. Check-in took a little bit longer than I was expecting because this was before noon. And but that's just the Hilton. I love it, especially this year with the Jurassic Hilton or Hilton World or whatever they were calling it.
Right.
With the dinosaur.
Yeah, they seem to be even more in the spirit.
Yes. Oh, yeah. They had dinosaurs all over the place. They had DJs playing most of the time. The lobby was great. We hung out in the lobby a lot this year. And just danced and stuff. They put a lot of effort into making it a destination, and I have a feeling their liquor sales are going to reflect that. Because that's why you do it. You know, they've already got the reservations are made, the rooms are paid for. So the only reason to doll it up like that is you want people to come party and spend their money on booze. You know.
Yeah, good point.
So I go inside, I check in. And it just so happens that my buddy, our head of research, Ryan Schweck, is sort of hanging around, and he's like, "Hey, man, you want me to help you unload your car?" I was like, "That'd be great." Because I don't like waiting for the bellhops. I need to get my shit done. I don't, I load in myself. It's 2 trips usually, depending on how much stuff I've got, but usually 2 trips. And I'd rather just go up and down twice than wait, because I can probably get it done myself faster than waiting for somebody to bring a cart. So Ryan goes down with me, And we get everything loaded. I've got one of those rolling carts that I put all the tubs for the game show and like just extra stuff on. I've got everything all bungeed up. My cooler's sitting on top. It's all wrapped up. And a different parking attendant lady walks over and says, Sir, do you have a parking pass for Dragon Con? And I pull out the thing they gave me at the front desk. And it says, put this in your windshield if you're with Dragon Con or whatever. And she's like, no, not that one. This is for VIP. Basically what she's saying is this for actual guests. Like Nathan Fillion would be able to park in that lot, but not Dave West.
Oh, jeez.
Despite the fact that we've pooped in the same room together. So I said, can we just unload and then I'll come right back and move it? And she said that was fine. So that actually, it worked out because I had a spot. I was able to unload, and we took everything up to the room. I get to the door. I put my key on the little new key sensor thing. Like, it's not slots anymore. It's just a sensor. And nothing happens. No red light, no nothing. They gave me 3 keys. I tried all 3 of them, and nothing is working. So there's a maid, fortunately, cleaning the room across the hall. I turned around and I said, can you call somebody or something because our key's not working here? And security got up there in probably like 2 minutes, if that. The guy opened it up, let us in, replaced the battery, and he was like, I'm so sorry about this. I'm so sorry. And Ryan's up there with me the whole time, just like, oh, man, this is terrible. Like, you got to stand here and wait. I was like, you know what? No. This is great. I am turning this inconvenience into a positive because you know what? If that battery had waited like 30 hours to go dead and I was here at 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday with my key not working, that would be a bad scene.
Yes.
So now I've got a fresh battery. I don't have to worry about this the whole rest of the weekend. And, man, he whipped that thing out fast. Like it was, again, less than 2 minutes. He had the battery replaced, the key was working, and he was gone. So put everything in the room, go back down to the car that I have to move because the place that I parked is not okay. And the same lady walks over, and she's like, I'm sorry, I know this is a pain. And I told her, I was like, no, this is fine. You guys have been super nice about it. This is no big deal. Where do I go? And she gave me this little back route to get down to the 5th level. She said, go straight to level 5. There shouldn't be anybody down there yet. You'll have your pick of level 5. Just go that way. Don't go that way. So I go a couple of turns down. Sure enough, level 5 is almost empty. I park literally right beside the elevator. Get out, get the rest of my stuff, go up to the room. I'm good. Like, it was all a big pain in the butt, but at the same time, the result was better than it would have been if everything had gone smoothly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the one other bump that I hit, Thursday, I had to be very responsible because my first panel at all of Dragon Con was 10 a.m. on Friday.
And it's a big one.
It's a big one. Sting, Lita, and the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Only 3 Hall of Famers.
Easily the biggest event I have ever been responsible for in my life. Like, I mean, that's it. I can't think of anything else. Now, granted, the game show is more directly on me, but this is like 3 people whose lives I couldn't even imagine living. A whole ballroom full of Dragon Con attendees there for most of them probably their first panel of Dragon Con. Like, I'm setting the tone for hundreds of people's weekends, Mike Gordon.
Yeah, man.
No
pressure.
I had to go to bed at a certain time. I had to not drink. I had to only drink so much. I had to get up at 8 a.m. because you can't, like, there's no fucking around at Dragon Con. You've got to have time to get to the panel. You've got to have time to talk to your guests beforehand. You've got to, like, you can't mess around. So I had to give myself 2 hours between when I woke up and when that panel was supposed to start to account for breakfast, shower, getting dressed, any unexpected events that might occur. Like, I couldn't mess around. So Thursday night, and I'll talk a little bit about Thursday night after in a bit, but I have to get to my mishap. I was responsible. I only drank a little bit. I was in bed by 1, got up at 7:30, went into the bathroom to take a shower, and I have no shower curtain.
Oh.
Like, it's not, there's not one at all. No shower curtain. And I'm freaking out because you know how long it can take for somebody to get up to the room to take care of something like that.
Absolutely.
I called the front desk and I said, look, I have to be walking out of this room by 9 o'clock and I don't have a shower curtain. And if I take you know how hotel showers are, if I had taken a shower in there without the shower curtain, the room would have flooded.
Yes.
I'm 6'4". That shower head's aimed at my nipples, basically. Like, there's going to be water everywhere.
Everywhere.
So I called down, and again, like lightning fast, within 2 minutes, somebody's knocking on the door. He's like, I'm so sorry about this, sir, that sometimes rooms get overlooked. It's really weird. I was like, yeah, in all the years I've been staying in hotels, this has never happened. What an odd one. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to get taken care of. Bim, bang, pulls the rod down, gets the curtain on. You're all set, sir. I wasn't even done with my breakfast by the time he had that shower curtain installed. So, nice. Yeah, it worked out. And I learned something. Because I've always wondered, why are hotel shower curtains fabric? It doesn't make any sense. Because fabric doesn't stop water. Like, it still dribbles down all over the floor. It's still a big mess. But it's because they wash them, like with the towels and everything.
Right.
I never had thought about that before. But that's why it was gone, is they took it down, they washed it, and they just forgot to put one back in the room.
Makes sense.
So I learned something new. So anyway, those were my mishaps that I wanted to get out of the way here. What I wanted to ask you about, Friday, Oz and I had a little bit of free time, and first thing I wanted to do was go to Artist Alley and see you, check out the new scene, see who was in there. Personally, I loved the way that everything was arranged in America's Mart this year. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I like the new setup. I like the fact that we've got a floor all to ourselves. Even our panels are right there on the same floor. I think it's great. I think, this is the first year, so I think maybe it took a little bit of time for some people to find us. I did run across a few people that one of two things. Either they didn't know where we were, or they didn't want to wait in line to get in the building, and that was pretty much the case because there will be a line on Saturday and now Sunday to get into America's Mart. So those two things will frustrate, the average person, and even people. I knew people who definitely wanted to come and visit, but they were not willing to wait 20 minutes in line outside. So that is something that I think DragonCon might have to look at some point, but the idea of us having that entire floor, the vibe was great. Everything. I talked to a few vendors that were not happy, a few artists, I should say, that were not happy because of the placement that they were in or the lack of folks. But we did really well. I did really well. And I know a number of other people who did, and I talked to some of the other creators, like Jill Thompson, who hasn't been. The last time she was at DragonCon, she came with Neil Gaiman. That was that was the first year I went to DragonCon. So it's been 25 years. Yeah, it's been 25 years for me, but it's been 25 years since she's been to DragonCon. And I asked her about it. We talked about it, and she said, "I love the vibe of this place. This is exceptional. It's unlike a lot of shows that I go to, and I want to come back."
Oh, that's great.
I thought that was really touching. There was a lot of questions about our area, and the comic track, or the comic programming, the comic and artist pop art alley. Don't call it just regular artist alley. Ooh, don't do that. Because the artists will get, the artists that are in the Hyatt will, they take umbrage to that. I found that out a few times over the weekend.
Wait, that's right. I hate to even say this because they'll probably take umbrage to this too. I forgot those guys were still in there.
Yeah, they are. So if you say I'm in Artist Alley, there was a few times where I got corrected by someone who was like, no, Artist Alley is in the Hyatt. I'm like, okay, gotcha. We are in the Comics and Pop Artist Alley. Like I said, there was a little bit of concern. I mean, obviously, with us losing our fearless leader, Tom Trainer, a month or so ago, we all wondered what it was going to be like. And there was a lot of us who, there was a feeling of sadness because we missed him and missed his presence, but his physical presence. But I got to tell you, his spirit was there. And his legacy lives on. When I think about, even 10 years ago, what the comic area was like in Dragon Con and what it is now, it is a testament to him that it really is, like all the other tracks, a convention in and of itself, and a good, decent convention. Like if you just want to do comics and want to go to a good comic convention, you can now come to Dragon Con and have a great comic convention experience.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like on the fourth floor. It felt like first of all, it felt like a destination to me. It felt like something special, and less like, and look, I loved that room in the Hyatt. I always loved visiting there, but it did sort of have a feeling of being, well, everybody jam in here. It's your space. Comic pop artists, I'll use the proper terminology there. There's your space, comic pop artists. Do the best you can with it. Whereas now, like you said, it felt like a comic convention unto itself. It felt like something special. I loved being in. It had its own atmosphere that felt, I mean, it's part of Dragon Con, but it was at the same time a little distinct from Dragon Con. I really dug it, and to me, the people that are going to come there are going to find their way there. I don't think that, same thing with the dealers, I don't think that it being in America's Mart, which, look, at this point, is not really that far removed. I mean, we're talking about from the Westin to the Sheraton and everything in between, so America's Mart, I mean, it's part of that loop. Building 2 is a little further back. And I did find some of the limitations that they put on access a little confounding. Like you said, that line to get in was a little discouraging to me. And it moved very, very quickly, don't get me wrong. But I can see where people would walk up and see that line, because it was wrapped around the building at one time when I walked up.
Yeah, it's pretty intimidating.
And yeah, I can see looking at that, and even if it is moving, thinking, you know what, I don't want to spend my next 2 hours doing this. Let's go find something else to do. Right.
Because if you do one thing at Dragon Con, you miss 8 really cool things.
And that's exactly right. And the cool, unfortunately for the dealer's room, I'm not including the comic and pop artists alley in this, but for the dealer's room, a large percentage of what you might see in there is available online. So when you create blocks to shopping that stuff, it becomes much easier nowadays to say, well, I can skip that and go do something that I can't experience anywhere else.
Yes, absolutely. So we did the folks that have taken over, in particular, Jamie and Tony and Jamie Jones and all the volunteers that have taken over. I mean, they didn't really miss a step. I mean, yes, Tom wasn't there, but there wasn't like huge big issues because of that. I mean, it was, if anything, it was people preserving his legacy. They had a nice memorial to him, a couple of them actually, multiple ones actually. I shouldn't say that. He was thought of all weekend, and I thought for a long time, I thought, well, I can't very well call this, even going into it, I can't call this my best Dragon Con ever because I'm missing a very important figure in my life. So it's going to be difficult for me to label this as the best Dragon Con ever.
Yeah.
But I will say, maybe as a cheat, by the time I left there on Monday, I have strong feelings that it was one of the best ever. I had some really magical moments over the course of the weekend, and that I could only get at Dragon Con.
It was the best under the circumstances.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that. So I thought, yes, that was an important part of the weekend, and the first time when they moved us over to America's Mart, it was kind of rough. But the next year after that, I think it was my best Dragon Con ever. So this move, did it cost us some folks? Sure. But I get the feeling that, next year they'll work around those things, they'll adjust, and I have hope that it'll be even better.
My guess, as far as the way that they restricted access, because usually there's several different ways you can get to the dealer's room, and over the course of the weekend they basically blocked most of them off except for that front entrance. My guess is that they didn't have enough volunteers to man as many entrances as are available. Because
I think it was actually for two reasons.
Oh, okay.
What I was told was the prevailing opinion was that it was because of safety reasons, because of what happened in Tallahassee.
Okay.
That
Sure.
there was
Sure.
more of a security presence this year at Dragon Con than had ever been there before, and I did see that a little bit. I don't think anybody's ever ultralight scanned my badge before walking in the Walk of Fame before entering the Walk of Fame before.
Oh, wow.
So that was a thing that they did this year, and I think they wanted to control they wanted to control traffic and safety, and safety was a concern. So that's why they cut off a lot of the tunnels that were going from the Westin and from Building 1 to Building 2. And
Okay.
yes, that caused some issues. I was not a fan of that because one of the reasons why I chose to stay at the Westin was because I was like, oh, we can just roll out of bed and go in the tunnel and boom, we're there.
Right.
And you could still do that to an extent, but it was a little trickier, and you had to go by multiple security points. So it wasn't because of lack of volunteers, because there were volunteers in security like all over the place as far as getting through there goes. But I think they just wanted to have one controllable entrance and exit point for people to go in and out of.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it over there. I dug it. What were you able to get out aside from the game show? What were you able to get out and do, or were you even all that concerned about? Well, surely you had a couple of ESO panels this year, right?
I had 4 panels this year.
Okay.
One of them was I have to do at least one panel in the American Sci-Fi Classics track room.
Yes.
Have to, because that's as much Dragon Con to me as anything else that happens at Dragon Con. So that was on Friday night. We did and it was one of the silliest. It was a perfect example of what goes on there, because it was one of the silliest panels that I've ever been part of. The concept was, hey, we've got a lot of Michaels that contribute to this track and these panels over the years. Let's get them all on one panel and have a panel of Mike and Michelle's, and we will roll a dice and discuss the most famous or many of the Michaels and Michelles in sci-fi fantasy history. So that's what we did, and it was a blast. It was totally ridiculous, but yet absolutely fun. And like I said, like that's what goes on in that room. And I was happy to be part of it. It was I was proud to be named Michael and participate in that. It was great. And so we did that on Friday. I didn't have any panels on Saturday. On Sunday, I had the panel that I have brought to Dragon Con, which I'm very proud of, which is the Art of Tiki.
Yes.
We've done it now 3 years in a row. So we had it at 11:30 on Sunday in the comics room. So and that had a great turnout. Wasn't as big of a turnout as last year, but I think part of the reason was we were at the new space and people were getting acclimated. The other part of it is that it was at 11:30. Not a lot of people who drink tiki drinks and rum drinks get up that early. Then also that Shag wasn't there. Shag is a really big figure, especially among the tiki community. So without him, it was kind of like, oh, well, who are these people? So but we had a great panel. I put together a great panel of folks, and we had a great time. And the turnout was pretty positive. We recorded it, so hopefully I'll be releasing that on video on my YouTube channel pretty soon. Like I said, I'm pretty proud of it. And as far as I'm concerned, we're going to continue to do more of those. I talked to the folks, Tony and them, and I'm hoping that we'll continue. It'll be an annual tradition.
I'm in agreement, though, that if it was a early evening panel, it might be a little more solid.
Yeah, and we'll try to work with that, I think. The problem is that building has to close at 7. So, because you can't, for security purposes and with the vendors and everybody leaving their stuff in there, you can't do anything after hours in that building.
I got you.
So building 2 is shut down at 7. You got to get out of there. So it would have to be like, something around like maybe 5 or something. I don't know. I'll talk to them about it. But like I said, time regardless, we had a good turnout. And after that, I raced over to the Hilton because I had my Earth Station Who panel where we talked all about the 12th Doctor, the era of the Peter Capaldi years, which is fitting because he was there. Unfortunately, he did not see fit to pop into our panel like he did with a few others.
Sure.
But, still, it was cool. And then on Monday, I moderated a State of the Comics Industry panel, had a bunch of folks on it that were talking about just how things are these days as far as getting into comics and whether it's a worthy endeavor, that kind of thing. And it was that was great fun, and I felt very cool very honored. I moderated it last year, but last year we didn't have a good turnout in terms of panelists because it is Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
But this year, everybody showed up. So I was like, whoa, we've got like 8 people on this panel. We need more chairs. So we kind of overbooked because last year hardly anybody showed up. So, but there's people in the audience, and they were cool with asking all sorts of questions, and it was a great time. And I like being part of the comic community that way. I like being interacting with my fellow indie artists and professionals just on that level. It's gratifying. So really, even though I only had 4, I've talked to many people who have multiple ones. I like it because it allows me time to be at my table and interact with fans of my work as well as pick up newbies, new folks, and pitch them my wares, so to speak. So I really like the flexibility of that. Like Friday and Saturday, I spent pretty much all day at my table, and I loved it.
Well, and you've got responsibilities. You've got to do your thing.
Well, when you put it like that, it sounds like work.
Well, no. To me, responsibilities can be fun.
No, I get you.
Absolutely. Where do we go from here, Mike Gordon?
Well, what about you? So I know that your panels, you had the Hall of Fame panel, which I I know you better, but I'm going to just hope and pray that nothing happened and that these recordings are intact and will be released at some point because I spent all my time at my table. I am dying to hear your panels. Certainly the one with the Hall of Famers, although I understand Lita didn't show up for that one. And then of course your one-on-one with the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
I have not. I had my trusty new voice recorder with me, and it ran for almost every panel I was on, which, by the way, Mike Gordon and listeners, I am currently making notes about things to discuss off air. I hope that you are all doing the same. That's all I'm going to say there. So I recorded most of the panels that I was on, and it held up all weekend long. Everything was great, but I have not listened to anything back yet because you know how different rooms can be.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of quality I got for anything yet. So I'm going to sit down, go through all of them, but I recorded Friday morning was the one that was scheduled to be Sting, Lita, and Ric Flair. And so I get there like 9:30. I'm doing great. And it's a huge ballroom. This is the Hyatt Regency 6 and 7 ballroom. Big space. I get there. I go backstage. I'm hanging out. I'm drinking water. I don't really get nervous before things that I do. I've talked about this before. I don't know what it is in my brain that allows me to feel comfortable with these sorts of things, but I don't get nervous, but I do get very excited. So I'm just I'm doing my pacing. I'm waiting for everybody to show up, and this is not my first rodeo. So I get with Tech Ops, I introduce myself, because moderating panels like this is very different from showing up to a track room and hanging out with your friends, you know? Like,
right.
There's a different set of etiquette, there are different responsibilities. So I get there as early as I can get there. I introduce myself to Tech Ops, I introduce myself to whoever's setting the room. I make sure there's water on the table. There's stuff that I feel it's up to me to do. And, I talk to everyone. I learn everyone's name. Now, granted, I say that. At this point, I do not remember any of that. But at the time, I was on. And we had this one guy who was there for both of the wrestling panels that I did. He had red hair, red beard. Just on top of it, like communication-wise, he was on top of letting me know what was going on, where everybody was. So at 9:50, I have no wrestlers. I very calmly, because the same thing happened last year with my Kane panel. Everybody gets stuck in traffic. I don't know how often celebrity panels get started on time, but in my personal dealings with the wrestling industry over the past decade, I can tell you it's no surprise to me that panels featuring professional wrestlers never start on time. It's just the nature of the business. So at 9:50, I go over to the gentleman in charge of the room. Actually, I do remember his name, Tom. Was in charge of the room, and he was absolutely fantastic. And I said, so here's what we're going to do. At 10 o'clock, if we have no wrestlers, I will go up on stage, and I will say, hey, everybody, we all know what stuck in traffic means. Ha, 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 big laugh. So just give us a few more minutes, and I'll have 3 Hall of Famers up on stage, because at this point, I did not know Lita wasn't showing up. So sure enough, 10 o'clock, we have no wrestlers. I went up on stage, ha, 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 blah, blah, blah. Went back down, waited a few more minutes, and I said, and I had told Tom before, if we don't have anybody by 10:15, and he said, ha, ha, let's hope we'll have them here by 10:15, ha, ha, ha. And I said, okay. I agree with you, but if they're not here by 10:15, I'll go up on stage and I'll share my Ric Flair story and then tell everybody to please be, thank you for your patience, basically. 10:15 comes around. We have no wrestlers. Or no, actually, I'm sorry. At 10 after I went up, because I had already been told they were on their way, like, granted, 3 times now, but I had been told they were on their way. So I figured by the time I'm done with my Ric Flair story, they'll be here. And I'll just I won't get any time with them beforehand. I'll just introduce them, bring them up on stage, and we'll go, which is what I had to do with Kane for the first panel. Because last year I had Kane first, and then I had Kane and Steamboat on Sunday. So
right.
So I was like, this will just be the same thing. I look, again, blowing my own horn here, but I'm very good at what I do. So I was not sweating this. I knew I'd be able to handle it. I had plenty of notes about all 3 of them, and I had a number of ways. Because here's the thing, is you're talking about Ric Flair and Sting and Lita. And it's the 3 of those, it's kind of hard to make connections for all
Right.
3 of them because you have to keep them all involved in the conversation for an hour. So I had figured out ways to tie their careers together and to have topics that all 3 of them could contribute equally to, and not just, hey, Sting and Flair, what was it like wrestling each other 1,000 times,
Right.
So I was prepared. I was comfortable. So I go up on stage. I tell my Ric Flair story. No wrestlers. I said, ladies and gentlemen, they're almost here. Thank you for your patience. We'll be right back. I go back off the stage because I made the decision I'm not going to sit on stage by myself in front of people that are waiting for famous people anymore.
Yeah,
Because
smart.
that's not giving them what they want. Like, whether I'm up on stage or not, they're still waiting. So there's no point in me being up there. So finally, Sting and Flair arrive. And the guy that manages them on their appearances is like, all right, are we ready? I said, yes, my name's Dave. It's a pleasure to meet you, gentlemen. I'm honored to be moderating this. They both shook my hand. And Sting said, wait, aren't we waiting for Amy? And the guy was like, Amy's not coming. Okay. Well, that only changes the entire plan I had for the panel. But that's okay, because you know what would have been worse is if it had just been Sting and Lita or just Ric Flair and Lita.
Right.
So, and this is my honest opinion, and I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'm going to say it. Lita should have had her own panel. It should have been moderated by a female. It
Yes.
should have been about the women's movement in wrestling from her era to now, and that's a thing that should have happened. There should have been a focus on her. Now,
Absolutely.
maybe she doesn't really do panels like that. Maybe she signed up for Dragon Con, and because she's a guest, they stuck her on a panel, and she's like, nah, I don't really do that stuff. I don't know what the story is. I just know that she wasn't there. So, okay, we're good to go. And I thought, I conduct myself very professionally prior to these kinds of things. I don't ask for autographs. I don't ask for pictures, because we're there to get up on stage, to do our job, and to get off. But in this instance, I said, you know what? We can take another 30 seconds. Do you guys mind if I get a picture with you? I actually said gentlemen. I didn't say guys. Do you gentlemen mind if I get a picture with you real quick? And they say, oh, please, come over. Come on. So I got that picture that's now up on Facebook.
It's a beautiful picture, too.
Dude, it really is.
I mean, it looks like it was taken by a pro.
It's great. The guy, I can't remember what his name was, and I feel bad about that, but he's the manager for, like, the company that books them for these events.
Sure.
He was super nice. He was great the whole time, and clearly he knows how to use it, because I use a Galaxy S9. It's a great camera phone, but if you don't know how to use it, like the guy at the Weird Al show didn't know how to use it, you you can really jack up a picture. But this guy knew what he was doing, and I appreciate that. So, yeah, I got that beautiful picture, and I said, all right. And I asked him, I said, okay, now who comes out first? And Sting is like, come on, I will come out first. And or no, I said, what order are you coming out? So we get up on stage, and we all know Ric Flair. We all know his foibles. We all know his talents. We all know him. We love him. When you go to see him on a panel, you know what you're going to get. But Sting is kind of an enigma as far as like Steve Borden, the guy.
Right.
I didn't really know what I was going to get. And Flair did most of the talking. But Sting, every time he opened his mouth, he was hilarious. I mean, he popped the crowd every single thing he said. His first comment out of his mouth, and I've got this recorded. I hope the quality is good enough to post the entire panel. Unfortunately, we got up on stage about 20 after, and we were allowed to go until either 10 after or quarter after. I can't remember which one they gave us, but they gave us some overtime. First thing out of Sting's mouth, we were talking about careers, and he says, well, I was in a feud with, or no, he said, I was saved by RoboCop once, so my entire career is suspect. First thing the guy says, the room went nuts. And after that point, I would say the conversation was 80% Ric Flair, 20% Sting, but that 20% that Sting provided was just golden. I mean, that man is hilarious. After the panel is over, we walk off stage. They both thank me. Flair's fiance is there, and they're kind of going ahead and doing their thing. Sting stops, turns around, and puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "Hey, man, how do you think that went? Did they like us?" Like, sincerely asking me how it went. And I was just like, "You're Sting. It was great."
Like, you should know when a crowd goes over.
Yeah, it was so funny. And again, maybe he hasn't done a whole lot of stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, maybe not.
I don't, because I remember in 2007 going to the TNA Bound for Glory. They had a big event here in Atlanta, and they had the event, but then they also had a big meet and greet and a big signing. And Sting had just signed with the company, but he wasn't there. And the rumor going around was that he didn't want to take attention away from all of the fresh talent in TNA. But then there was kind of an other rumor that he just didn't do a whole lot of that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but he was very great. Both Flair and Sting both were very, very gracious, very nice to me. And having the opportunity to work with Ric Flair twice in the weekend, when on Sunday they were there on time, I got to get a picture with just the Nature Boy, and it was kind of funny because he's wearing this bright red jacket and I was wearing a dark green jacket, and we kind of look like Christmas together. But he was pleased that I was there. He was like, "Oh, hey, it's good to see you again, man. Let's go do it." My gosh, just the fact that I had a conversation with these guys, like just for a couple of minutes, it just blows my mind. And then to have sat at the table with them while they're sharing their stories. And man, Ric Flair's panel from Sunday got very deep and emotional. He talked about Reed, which I did not expect. I mean, I certainly was not going to broach that subject, but he talked about Reed a good bit, and I was sitting next to him trying not to cry. It's great, and I really hope the audio from that one is like more than any other panel from the weekend. I hope that one is good, and there's no reason it wouldn't be. It's possible that the audience questions will be a bit hard to pick up because they were hard to hear up on stage.
Right, yeah.
But it was, man, it was amazing. It was amazing. What you had mentioned this, being with an asterisk your greatest Dragon Con ever. This was easily my greatest Dragon Con ever, because every year I have kind of a lull. I'll hit a point where I'm kind of bummed out, or something gets to me, or I'm kind of like, ugh, I'm just tired. Maybe I want to go home. I don't know. Every year I have a point where I'm not as up as I am the rest of the weekend. This year that did not happen. I was delighted and excited all weekend long. Even when the stuff was going wrong on Thursday and Friday, I was up, I was positive, I felt great, man.
I hit something on Sunday night where I was kind of like, something feels off, and I didn't know. I was like, well, maybe it's because Tom's not here, or maybe it's because I'm just having an off year. Certainly, there was a couple of things that I wanted to have done and on the table by Dragon Con. It didn't happen, so I was kind of disappointed by that. Sales at that point were looking kind of mediocre, and so I think on Sunday night I started to have a moment where I was like, ooh, and this might be, not right up there as far as Dragon Con moments. But
right.
But on Monday, Monday really turned it around. And the one thing that happened on Monday, and I'll go ahead and talk about it. My nephew, Aaron, draws a comic. It's called Super Cheese. We've got 2 issues that I've published for him. He is 11, and it does look like the work of a very creative 11-year-old. But it's great. I like to encourage him. But I will say that I got kind of, I was really disappointed that when I was talking to him about a month ago over the summer, I was like, oh, I got the 2nd issue. It looks really great. I said, what's going on with the 3rd issue? He's like, well, I'm going to have to get new people to help me out on the 3rd issue. And I'm like, oh, really? Why is that? And he's like, because I guess it's not cool to do comics. And so the people, like a lot of people that had worked with him on the 2nd one, just felt that it was not cool. So they ditched him, right? They and I was really kind of surprised by all that. I was like, wow, I was telling him, well, they don't sound very cool to me. And he's like, yeah, they're not, and everything. He kind of shrugged it off. But I'm like, that kind of stuff, man, that kind of shit doesn't sit well with me. I was, I got picked on and bullied and was shunned for some of the things that I liked or didn't like, and
Sure.
in back then. And I honestly, I know that bullying I know that it goes on, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not ignorant to all that, but I really kind of thought that comics were kind of cool now, like especially with all the movies and everything like that. So I was kind of surprised to hear and very disappointed to hear that was not the case. And there was talk of Aaron, actually, my sister, bringing my nephew to Dragon Con this year, and he would be, selling his book at the table and taking part in the convention, and I was pretty excited for him for that. That didn't work out. But I did have his books, and I thought to myself, well, I am going to take the opportunity this weekend to bring his books to someone that I know that he admires. The book is, like I said, the comic's called Super Cheese, and I'm almost, I've never talked to him directly about this, but I am pretty sure that it's largely inspired by 2 things. One is Captain Underpants, because he's a big fan of that book series, and the cartoon SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to bring these books over to Tom Kenny, and I'm going to just give him. I'm going to give Tom my nephew's books and get an autograph for my cousin, for my nephew. And we'll, I'll do that for him, and hopefully that'll be encouraging to him, because of it'll balance out the quote unquote cool kids, So he wasn't. Tom has a very busy schedule. I know he performed with his big band.
Oh, I
over the
hate
weekend
that
as well.
I missed that.
Me too. because the more I heard about it, I do know people who were there, and they said it was amazing. So I hate that I missed it as well. And I went over to the Walk of Fame area on Sunday after my panel, my Earth Station Who panel, and he was nowhere to be found. So I was like, and the last time he was at Dragon Con, I think he skipped out on Monday. He wasn't there on Monday, if I remember correctly. So, because I wanted to meet him then too, and not for me really, because I like SpongeBob SquarePants, but I'm not a huge fan. I probably watched maybe a handful of episodes.
That's funny because thematically, anyway, it seems like it would be right up your alley. But humor-wise, I'm more of a fan of Tom Kenny than I am of SpongeBob SquarePants, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I'm not saying I dislike it. I just haven't, I haven't opened my world, I haven't opened that door and just gone right on in.
Maybe we'll do a commentary for one of the movies.
Maybe. So, yeah, I haven't even seen the movies. But anyway, so I was like, oh, man. So I made it a point on Monday morning to do it. I knew that he had I could see on his schedule, thank you, DragonCon app. I could see on his schedule that, and if I had used the app, I would have known that he wouldn't have been there when I was there on Saturday because he had a panel, like when I was there around 4.
Oh.
So if I had used the app, I could have saved myself some trouble, but I wouldn't have met Lita then. So I did get a chance to meet Amy myself. That was the first time I've done that. So that was a cool experience, but that's another story, and not a very exciting one. But. Not nearly as exciting as I would hope, but anyway, so anyway, on Monday I made it a point to go see Tom, and I caught him just as he was leaving on Monday to do a photo. He was scheduled to do a photo thing, and that because when I got there, the volunteers were in front of his table saying, "No, he's not seeing anybody." And look, I don't pull out the guest thing that often. As a matter of fact, I don't believe in that, and there's guests and there's guests, and I know exactly where I fall in the order of things. But I did have a panel that I was supposed to moderate at 1, and they're like, he's not going to be back until 12:20, and I'm like, I said, I just ran over from America's Mart. I got to go back there at 1, and that's going to be kind of tight. And I'm kind of holding my badge a little bit, as I'm doing it. And they're like, well, let me check to see if he has time, just a minute or two. So I'm like, okay, thanks. So they check. Then he waved me in. So and I talked to Tom and I say, like, look, I've got these books that I wanted to give you because my nephew wishes he could be here, but he wanted you to have these. These are his comic. And Tom went ballistic. He was so excited. Legitimately, not just like, oh, these are cool. Like, yeah, he was over the moon for these things. And he's like, I love reading comics from kids. They're so imaginative. They just don't know the rules that they're breaking. They're just so full of excitement. And he loved the title Super Cheese. And he said, when SpongeBob started, that everybody thought he was cheese, like he was a block of cheese because he looks kind of like Swiss cheese, And he's like, these are great, and he's happy to sign. He had some pictures or whatever of SpongeBob, and he signed one of those, made it out to Aaron, and did all these stuff on there, had SpongeBob saying I heart Super Cheese, and all that kind of stuff, just stuff that that would encourage him, encouraging stuff, and just genuine excitement, and was such a super and sweet guy, and I can't. That was a magical moment. It really was. I expected oh yeah, that'd be cool, and a transaction to take place, but instead I got magic. And after that, I was kind of just on cloud 9. So happy for him. I sent the pictures right away because I took a picture of Tom with the comics, and then as well as a picture of what he had signed. Sent that off to my nephew. Got a very excited text back And I thought it was exciting, and then I talked to my sister afterwards, and she was like, "Oh yeah, he was running on that, mom," like she was really excited. So, and Tom said, you're a good uncle, and I felt like a good uncle. So that was a really special moment for me, and I thank Tom for that. And it was, that my Monday got much better from there. My con experience, we had sales, the panel was fine. Like, it just was a great day and a great way to end the weekend. So I love that, Dragon Con has moments like that.
Yeah. There's magic waiting to happen every day. I mean, absolutely. And
yeah.
Interestingly, my Monday was pretty cool too, because I normally, and you can actually even see this if you, Needless Things is in a bit of a state of disarray right now. Something is happening, something is changing, more on that next week probably. But I wrote in my Needless Things at Dragon Con write-up, because so many of us were on panels this year. It wasn't just me, it was also Beth, it was also Nicole, Ryan Cadaver, like several of us ended up on panels for a couple of different tracks, and it was very exciting that we've all had the opportunities that we had. But as I wrote in my schedule write-up, Monday, wake up, get the fuck out. Because generally that's what I do. I show up Thursday morning and I party my ass off for 4 days. I say I party/work my ass off for 4 days.
Right.
And then on Monday, I'm ready to get back home to the family. It's Labor Day, it's a holiday, so my son's out of school. I want to get back home and spend some time with him and just chill out. In general, I just don't do any programming or anything on Mondays.
Oh, I cling to Monday with everything I have. I'm like, I hold it on to the edge. I'm not leaving until the bell sounds and says, "Get out of here."
Well, and I kind of get that now, because this year I paid the Hilton for a late checkout, which is 4 p.m. And Sunday night, even though I did my best, I learned something. If I stick to whiskey all weekend, I'm okay. I didn't touch a beer. I didn't touch any other liquors. I just drank whiskey all weekend. And I didn't have any bad mornings, really. So Monday, I woke up at like 10:30 or 11. Which for me is early on a day that I don't have to go into my day job.
I get it.
Or it's early on a day that I don't have to go into my day job, or a day that I'm not interviewing Ric Flair, which is a admittedly rare occasion. But I got up and I don't know how much I can say about this. I'll just say this. I had been hanging out with the puppetry track Sunday night, because that's what I do. My Sunday night now is devoted from 11 p.m. on to the puppetry track, because I love Bo. I love what they do.
Absolutely.
I wish there were two me's so that I could split one off and just be a part of that track all weekend. I would volunteer for it. I would sweep floors for them, whatever. But I have other things going on. But Sunday night is for the puppetry track. So at 6 a.m., I'm walking back to my room after whatever goes on there, and I'm realizing there's nobody in the hotel right now. If I go ahead back to the room, pack everything, I can load out to my car in like half an hour or so and be done and not be getting up and waiting on elevators and everything else. So I get back to my room, I packed everything up, I made 2 trips down to the car, I left the bare essentials in the room, and woke up at 10:30 or 11, ate a protein bar, and which, by the way, the RX bar line of protein bars are great.
Good to know.
They're very chewy. It will take you about 10 minutes to eat one of them. But they helped me out this weekend because I can, as many people can, I'm sure, I can be very bad about eating and about nutrition at Dragon Con. So having those things helped me out a lot. Because generally what I do, I wake up in the morning and I make hot meal with the hot water from the coffee machine. Did I say hot meal? I make oatmeal with the hot water from the coffee machine. I'll have oatmeal for breakfast because it's quick. I can do it in the room and I can go without worrying about going to like the food court or somewhere. So when I woke up on Monday, I didn't have to load out. And a friend of mine was not able to make it to Dragon Con, but is a huge Overwatch fan. And Overwatch has this touring thing that they're doing where if you go and do a little video, they give you a pen, and it's a different pen for every convention. And this convention, or Dragon Con's pen, happened to be my friend's favorite character. So I was like, you know what? I'll run over to the dealer's room. If I can do that thing in under an hour, I'll do it. And just then I'll go. So I head over there, and then I get a message from Oz, who essentially at this point is my con wife. Like, I think I spend more time with Oz at Dragon Con than anybody else. We're very much on the same wavelength as far as what we want to do, when we want to do it, what we're in the mood for. Like, we really, you know how you just click with people as far as like being out doing a thing. So I get a message from Oz, and he's like, hey, I just finished loading out. I think I'm going to head to the dealer's room. What are you doing? And I was like, I'm in the dealer's room. So I wait in line for this thing. It doesn't take too terribly long. I do my video. I get my pen. And then we kind of just wander around the dealer's room. We went up to the artist alley, but you weren't at your table. Bill and Pete.
I was on with Tom Kelly. No,
yeah, you might have been.
Or I was I was on my panel.
Yeah, you might have been at your panel, because by this point it was probably like around 1 o'clock.
Yeah, my panel was at 1.
Okay, so yeah, you were at your panel. Bill and Peter were at the table, and while I was still at Dragon Con, I was still kind of in get the fuck out mode, so I wasn't talking to anybody. I actually walked past several people that I would have stopped and had conversations with on any other day of Dragon Con, but I was just like, no, this is it. I'm making my last rounds and going. But, you know, I spent a couple more hours there than I normally would have, and I gotta say, next year, I might do Monday. Like, I might plan, if I can do the same deal, get everything loaded out, and just go out and, you know, stick around for a while on Monday. There was a cool vibe. I felt.
It's really relaxed. I mean,
yeah,
one out of every 20 persons is in costume. But yeah, I mean, I stay till 5 till they boot us out of the artist alley. I'm sorry. The comic and pop artist alley.
Pop artist, please.
And you know, when they finally ring the bell, and that's when we finally go, okay, it's call it. Just because, you know, the rest of my life is so horrible, I don't want to jump back into it. But so I need to.
Who are you telling?
But no, and plus, like any convention, if I'm vending, I will be there till the last minute.
Yeah,
so if you've got a couple of dollars you want to spend, I will be there, you know. So I've done more in the last hour at shows than I've done all weekend sometimes. Not at Dragon Con in particular, but some shows. So yeah, we're there. But most of the rest of the dealers, I mean, they start to pack up probably around, you know, noonish, some of them, but it is a nice time, and Monday there was no line to get into the building, so it's for America's Mart. So I would imagine that it was pretty accessible, you know.
Yeah, that was a big difference too, is I was able to walk right in. That was
and nice. And a lot of people were still there. I mean, Gail Simone was still there. Jill Thompson was still there. You know, there's a lot of the bigger names stuck around on Monday. A lot of times they just leave. I did when I went over to see. Tom, I did notice that, the Walk of Fame was pretty sparse that early. I think it was around 11:30. And yeah, I was like, whoa, yeah, a lot of celebrities, aren't around for Monday. But yeah, there's stuff to be done. And I couldn't run into, I ran into people still. So there was still a lot of people hanging out, doing stuff. So I figure Monday is part of it, as anything. So that means every year I get home really late, and usually have to work on Tuesday. And, traditionally Tuesday for me is the worst. The Tuesday after Dragon Con is the worst day of the year for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll tell you this, part of the reason, because I have friends who are at Dragon Con to party. They cannot grasp why I would do all of the things that I do at Dragon Con. But for me, this is fulfilling work that I do. The day job is not fulfilling. It fulfills my wallet, but spiritually and intellectually, it's not fulfilling. So this for me is that. And also, because I put so much work into it, and because it is a lot of hard work, because I take doing panels, I take doing the game show, I take moderating very seriously. So when Dragon Con is over, I'll tell you this, for me, doing the things that I do now these past few years has taken some of the sting out of it being over. Because I'm satisfied and I'm relieved. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's...
Yeah.
I've been running from place to place, doing panels, making sure my notes are straight, which, by the way, one of my proud moments from Dragon Con, when I'm moderating a panel, and not like just a celebrity panel, but even a fan panel, when I'm the moderator, I have extensive notes, because you always need to have the next thing. You have to keep it going. You can't have dead space. So I always have lots and lots of notes to keep the conversation going, knowing that there are going to be different personalities, different viewpoints. I just try to prepare as best I can.
Know what I do? I was going to say, I'm like, man, I do not do that. I do not do that, even for the panels that are so important to me, like the Art of Tiki panel. I don't, and it's weird because I'm introverted by nature. It's very difficult for me to do a lot of these things that I do. The only reason that I've been able to do them is just because of slowly but surely, slowly made progress on a lot of things. But and I still, I don't get nervous, like deathly nervous or like violently ill before panels, but I do get butterflies, but to me that's just part of it. You should have butterflies. If you're not, then that means you don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
But I've always found that if I do get stumped, or if I'm like, ooh, I don't know where to go, like I do a lot of thinking about it. A lot of thinking. Like I do a lot of thinking about like, okay, where, what questions can I ask? Da, 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 da. But I really like the idea, sort of like when I podcast, of allowing the conversation to go where it will go, and not to kill those moments. And I also want to make sure that it's not just me up there talking. So I because when I used to attend panels, I used to hate seeing, especially fan panels, where the panelists would just talk and talk and talk, and it just didn't seem it wasn't interactive. It wasn't a lot of fun. It was just a bunch of people, like talking about stuff that some of them might have had some expertise in, but for the most part, they were just spouting their opinions, which, right or wrong, were not as interesting as, that as they could be for an hour, right? So I encourage discussion. I encourage questions. So if I get like where I'm like, I don't know what to do next, I just shoot it to the audience, and I'm like, does anybody have a question? And then so that's my go-to.
I generally like to have specific points to bring up. Now, I don't use the notes as much, but they're there to make sure everything keeps going.
Yeah, I get it.
And as far as shooting it to the audience, we'll just say that's going to be part of my off-the-record conversation that we're going to have when we're done recording here.
Oh, I'm not saying it always works to my favor. But I at least want to give them the opportunity to step up to the plate.
Sure.
They don't always hit home runs. And I love everybody who comes to the panels. I am certainly not mocking anybody. But sometimes it's sometimes it's like, oh, that's unfortunate.
It's easier to manage the people behind the table than it is the people on the other side of the table.
That is true. Although this weekend I had some exceptions to that.
That'll be our post-recording conversation.
Yes, it will.
But anyway, I am prepared. It's not that I'm going to run down a list of bullet points of what we're going to talk about, but I have certain facts, certain things I want to bring up, and
if I was in a position where I was, on stage interviewing someone of like Ric Flair's caliber, you're damn right I would have notes.
Yeah, you don't want to get up there and have any dead space, which is something I see particularly in fan panels. I'll see that moment where the whole table is just looking at each other, and I don't like that. I don't want that. But I show up to the Halloween panel that I'm moderating for the horror track on Sunday night. I pull out my folder with everything in it. For some reason, my Halloween notes are gone.
Oh.
And I had to do the whole... And look, I love John Carpenter. I love Halloween. I was very excited about this panel. It was my only panel for the horror track this year, just because of how the lineup worked out. So it was very important to me for this to be a great panel, and I was excited about the panelists that I was on it with. So I opened it, I fold her up, my notes are gone, and we did a great job. Anyway, we still did a great panel, and a lot of that is due to the fellow panelists I had up there who were all great, which you'll definitely be able to hear that episode in the coming weeks on Needless Things.
Yeah, I don't know I think you know this, but I don't know if you're aware of this, but I did actually catch the end of your 88 panel.
Oh, did you? No, I didn't know that.
Yep, I was, because I think that was on Friday, right?
Yeah, that was Friday at 7 p.m.
That was right before the panel of Mike's and Michelle's and
all
all that. So,
okay.
So we arrived, again, it's a weird thing. I arrived a little early, so I was like, hey, and now what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, this is Dave's panel, one of Dave's panels, so I will go in and enjoy that. So I saw about the last, 10, 15 minutes of that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that
was fun.
I'm very proud of that one, too.
Yes.
For the panelists that I assembled for it. I was
Absolutely
quite pleased.
Yes.
So, as we wrap this thing up, are there any moments that stood out to you?
I'm holding on. I don't want to go. No,
yeah, right. Did you learn anything new this year?
Good question. I learned that I really like the Westin.
I agree.
It's been my favorite hotel to stay at, and unfortunately, it was sold out this morning, so I don't think I'll be there next year.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, it already went up and gone. So we tried to get in this morning, and it didn't happen. So we'll have to try to figure out what we're going to do. But I did enjoy that. I don't know. I obviously really need to, I try to have something special for my table at Dragon Con every year because I owe it to Dragon Con, right? Dragon Con is a special event. You don't just show up with the same old shit, right?
Yeah,
You should produce something special, right? That's why I was a little disappointed because I didn't have Tiki Zombie done, the newest issue, in time for Dragon Con, and I was really disappointed. Now, I did still have some pins, the ESO book, and a couple of other things. So Super Cheese #2, like there was some new stuff on my table, but like personally, I was like, I want it to be special. I want to do something special for Dragon Con. So I'm all about that. I mean, I legitimately try to schedule my entire career work towards Dragon Con, to like making something for that event. So Dragon Con is not just a weekend for me that I'm like, oh, this is really cool. It's something I prepare for and gear up for every year. Heck, I devoted a podcast to it, the Dragon Con report. We go monthly starting in January leading up to it, so I don't just do that I don't do that for any other show. I wouldn't do that for any other show. There may be shows that are bigger. There may be shows that have more press, but they're not shows that I love as much. So, but the one thing that I think really hit me this year was, okay, well, as far as stuff for the table, as far as preparation, as far as for panels and all that, podcasting and et cetera, that's all well and good, Mike. But if you really want to, do a service for Dragon Con, you need to get in better fucking shape, because you owe it, to Dragon Con to be not just slogging around. You owe it to Dragon Con to be in the best shape that you can be, because this is not. I mean, we talked about it at the top of the hour. It's a marathon and a sprint, right? And as I'm getting older, like I said, it's not getting any easier. And I don't think there was anything that I wasn't able to do this year because, of my, I'm, too big, or I'm just don't have the energy or whatever. But I could see that it was affecting my, getting around in a way, and just overall, like, the endurance. You just want to be up for the whole thing, and that's not something you can just do on a weekend. So just like I prepare for everything else, like that needs to be a really serious thing. And if I need that as an incentive to get my health together, then by God, then that's as good a reason as any.
Yeah, and that's before in the month leading up to Dragon Con, I was getting out. I was walking 3 miles every day that I could. I was eating well, and I'm going to continue to do that. At Dragon Con, I didn't eat well, believe me, but I was eating as well as I could, and I prepared. And I'll tell you right now, if I had not done those things, I would not have been able to handle the weekend as well as I did.
Yeah, and it showed. I mean, you look great. Our friend Ryan Cadaver looks amazing.
Can we talk about how great Ryan looks?
Man, Kevin Eldridge looks great. He dropped
very
some pounds.
Briefly, but yeah, you're right. He's
Gary Mitchell looks great.
Gary looks great.
I mean, a lot of folks, and I think that's what also maybe not only just me being like, oh, I really need to like work better at this, but just around, like all the guys around me. And usually when everybody jumps on a train, I'm like, screw that. I don't need
me too.
I'm not that guy, right?
No.
But in this case, I was kind of like, man, that's a club that I would like to be part of. So, so that's one thing I think that I will try to do, and so that it isn't an issue, for me, and so that I can enjoy, 25 more.
Well, and I'll tell you, and I don't want to get all preachy, but the days that I go and walk are better days. They just are. And yes, it takes time. And when you're not doing it, you're like, I don't want to spend all that time doing that. But even though it takes a chunk of time out of my day, it makes the rest of the day better. And I've got to remember that mindset, and I've got to keep doing it. It's just it really does make a huge difference just in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. So I think that was one of my biggest takeaways this year.
I like that my lesson I learned is stick to whiskey, and your lesson is I need to be healthier. But real quick, there are two things that I wanted to mention. One, I got to see a band play. Well, man, there's so much stuff we haven't gotten to, but you can only cover so much. Cybertronic Spree, did you get to see them at all?
I did not. I heard amazing things about them, not only from you, but a number of people were just, some people who weren't familiar with them were just blown away by them.
They, I want them to come back every single year because, as Joe Crow put it, they could have showed up in those costumes and been an okay band and been a great success at Dragon Con. But they showed up in those costumes and put on a show that was the equivalent of Van Halen in 1982. They had stage banter. They had high kicks. They had two vocalists. They had RC and Hot Rod that both were just electric, so to speak. I mean, it was not just, oh, cool, they're doing a geek thing. It was, they are rocking the... Like, that show would have been great if they had not had the costumes.
Now, I thought you had seen them at MomoCon.
No.
Okay.
This was their first time in Georgia.
Oh, I thought, for some reason, I thought they had played MomoCon.
No, they did not. And they were incredible. But the band I really want to put over, because Cybertronic Spree, like, they're going to draw no matter where they go. The band I really want to put over is one that I actually got to see perform in the Marriott at their table, was Mayhaley's Grave. I don't know which song of theirs they played. I bought both of their albums based on this live performance. It was very much, if you like the music from the Haunted Mansion, the like kind of jazzier version of Grim Grinning Ghosts.
Yeah.
It was very much like that. I have not listened to both of those albums yet, but their live performance was just so much fun. I was just walking by and they were playing and I was like, what is this? This is incredible. And I stopped and watched them finish the song and it was so much fun. They were so good. I'm really excited about listening to the rest of their work. As a matter of fact, I sent Ryan Cadaver a message and I was like, holy crap, there's a Haunted Mansion band playing right now.
How fast did he run over there?
Well, they were on their way down. Because
okay,
Ryan and Nicole did not stay on site this year, which I think next year they'll be on site for the whole weekend. But they play, and that's MAYHAYLEY''S Grave, Mayhaley's Grave. I strongly recommend everybody look them up. They're on Facebook. But they played a show that night. But we were not able to get to it, which bummed me out when I realized the schedule didn't line up. But hopefully they'll be back at some point. They were great. And then the other thing I wanted to put over is somehow, even though I've been staying in the Hilton for 8 or 9 years or whatever it is, I have never eaten at Southern Elements, which is the restaurant in the Hilton lobby. And Oz and I ate there, and it's great.
Yes, it is.
And
I have eaten there, yep.
I probably shouldn't be sharing that because the times I went by, it was never crowded. The service was not as fast as it could have been, but it's Dragon Con. What are you going to do? The price is very reasonable, and it's not the food court, which is really a pretty strong recommendation.
Oh, the food court was a mess this year.
It was, and it was scary. Like, yes. The lighting was so weird and dark. Like, I just didn't like being in there. I think we ate one meal in there, and that was it. Now, we did eat in the secret food court a couple of times. Matter of fact, I ran into Director Faber in the secret food court.
I know he likes the secret food court.
Yeah, it's funny because when you go to Disney World, you know how you go in the one big restaurant, but it has like 7 different types, like the Italian food, the Chinese food, but it's all owned by the same thing. Like, that's kind of what the secret food court is. But, I mean, it was good. The pricing was reasonable for, versus anything else you might get. It was good food, and it was, we went in, got the food, sat at a table. No problem. I liked it. I hope nobody else goes there.
Well, your secret's safe with me.
Oh, good. Just between you and me and the 6 people that listen to this show.
Sure. Well, we didn't say where it is, did we?
No, we didn't.
All right.
Although there were signs this year, which is kind of funny. So,
did the sign say secret food court?
Well, it's got a proper title, but I'm not gonna lay it out here. You got to figure it out like I did. I'm gonna be like my dad on this one and say you have to learn it for yourself. So what? Anything else? I think there obviously we could go on for like 6 more hours, but
we really could. I mean, like I said, there's so much that happens, but I could go on and on, but I think we hit the highlights, at least for me anyway.
Yeah, I'm just so proud of what I accomplished and of all of the people that I worked with over the weekend. I couldn't possibly name, everybody, but obviously everybody involved with the game show, everybody that's a part of the Needless Things family that were on panels for the horror track and for the classics track. I feel like I have my own little Dragon Con family now, and that we're doing great things, and I just couldn't be happier about it. And of course, thank you to Joe and Gary and Derek and Bo Brown, and and certainly you and Mike Faber for being a part of how I got to where I am, within Dragon Con.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and it's all. I think we all do a really good job at helping each other, and that's what makes Dragon Con, Dragon Con really is that most of us are there. Yeah, there's some jerks, there's some jackholes, there's that contingent, but I find in Dragon Con they're fewer and far between, and there's just a lot of folks that just want to enjoy themselves, but also allow others to enjoy themselves, which is something that doesn't happen at a usual, like almost anywhere else.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Everybody, more so at Dragon Con than anywhere else, people are there with the idea that they're going to have fun, but also that everybody else is going to have fun.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Mike Gordon. Well, thanks for taking time to sit down and do this recap of Dragon Con.
I can go back to bed now?
Yeah, you can go back to bed now. I can finish this season of Ozark, which, holy fuck, dude. Have you watched this show?
I have not watched that show. Have you spotted the award-winning Bobby Nash?
Not yet. I'm not on that episode yet.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't even look at his post because I was afraid it was going to spoil something.
Well, keep an eagle eye out for Bobby Nash. He does appear on one of those. But yes, it is not a show that I have gotten to yet.
Well, I got to say, I wonder, knowing that, because I'll assume if Bobby Nash was in it, that they filmed some parts of it in Georgia. There is one scene from this season that I could swear looks like Book Nook. Off of Highway 29. I mean, I was sitting there watching it, and at the time I wasn't thinking about award-winning Bobby Nash, and I was like, holy shit, this looks exactly like Book Nook, but why would they film any of this in Georgia? But now that you've said that, I wonder if that's what it was. Well, anyway, Mike Gordon, thank you so much. Before we go, where can we find you online? What are you up to?
Well, as always, it's my pleasure, sir. And you can find me online at newlegendmike.com for all things that I'm involved with, including the Earth Station 1 podcast that I do weekly, which will resume next week because I am so tired we did not put one out this week.
And Super Cheese.
And Super Cheese, yes, from my nephew Aaron. His 2 issues, his second issue came out this year, and we're super excited. So if you are interested in getting copies, feel free to message me, and I'll hook you up.
Mike Gordon, are you at all concerned about Super Cheese surpassing Tiki Zombie on issue count?
I should hope so. Someone's got to put me through retirement. I don't have kids of my own, So
awesome. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
I want to take a minute and thank every person that was part of my Dragon Con experience. There are far too many names to name, but I will give a special shout out to our pals Ryan and Nicole and Beth, and of course Oz, who was my constant all weekend. You guys really helped me get through this thing. Your fellowship, your companionship, your good humor, your enthusiasm kept me afloat the whole time. And I really appreciate that. I had the best time because I was hanging out with the best people. Everybody that was on a panel with me was absolutely fantastic. Certainly just an unbelievable experience all weekend, talking about so many different things, being part of so many different things. Just really unforgettable, except, of course, that I am already forgetting, certain aspects and certain little moments, which is why I'm glad I recorded all of those panels. Almost all of those panels. There's one I didn't record for off-air reasons, but I have all of the panels that I felt were okay for me to record or recorded, if that makes sense to you. So you're going to be getting a lot of great content from the Needless Things podcast over the next couple of months. I'll get as many as I can out before September is done. A couple of them will fit very well into October. Well, you know what, I say a couple. Maybe only one, because Halloween is the only horror track panel that I was on this year. But I love you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it.